and Schefter has got like 3 phones surgically attached to his head as we speak. The madness of NFL free agency has begun, and the big developing story is the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. Within just the last half hour, Schefter, you've got significant insight. Take it away.
Greeny, let's bring you behind the steel curtain and let's have you know what's going on in Pittsburgh this morning as free agency, the negotiating window, is set to open at noon today. The Pittsburgh Steelers had been talking to Justin Fields to see if they could figure out a way to get a deal done to bring back Justin Fields as their potential starting quarterback this upcoming season. But Justin Fields has slow played the Pittsburgh Steelers because he still needs to hear what the Jets' situation is, what their offer is, which he cannot do until noon today. Now, what's interesting about this is you're seeing players across the league re-sign with their current teams. So here we have the Pittsburgh Steelers potentially offering up a starting quarterback job, and here we have Justin Fields saying, hold on, not so fast. I'm also curious to hear what the New York Jets have to say. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting on Justin Fields while they're also talking to Russell Wilson, who could be back now that they've traded for DK Metcalf, and who they're also going to be speaking with, Aaron Rodgers. He has emerged as an option for the Pittsburgh Steelers in light of the fact that they can't close out a deal with Justin Fields, who seems to have some degree of interest. It's hard to quantify exactly how much in going to the New York Jets. So we're waiting for the quarterback carousel to spin. Fields could go to Pittsburgh, which would block out Rodgers and Wilson. He could go to the New York Jets, which would free up a spot in Pittsburgh for Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. These are some of the moves that will play out today.
All right, yeah, today's going to be quarterback day, Schefter was telling me. Stay right where you are, Adam. I'm coming back to you in a second, but I just want a quick take from Orlovsky, my quarterback here, because the Steelers now have George Pickens, who is a talented, let's use the word mercurial, perhaps at times, receiver, and now they bring in DK Metcalf. So they've got studs on the outside. Right now, Dan, who do you think the Steelers' our best bet at quarterback is? Should it be Fields? Should it be Wilson? Should it be Rodgers?
None of them. It would be Sam Darnold. If I was Sam Darnold, who's going into free agency, that would be the team that I want to go to. My number one question if I was Sam was, or would be, are you keeping George Pickens? Is that going to be a dead set lock? Because the addition to DK Metcalf, while George is tremendously talented, it brings the question for me as a quarterback, are you going to have them both? If they do, if I was Sam Darnold, I would want to go there over Seattle right now unless he knows something with the additions that might happen in Seattle at wide receiver. I think the second thing is, now that DK Metcalf is there, this offense has the chance to basically sit in a I'm going to see cover 2 mindset all the time. If DK Metcalf and George Pickens are on the same field or on the field at the same time, teams are not going to play them one-on-one. So the run game is going to be a lot better in Pittsburgh. But if I was a quarterback or if I was Sam Darnold, I would look at Pittsburgh number 1. If Sam's out of the conversation, I think it then becomes Aaron Rodgers. If I was Justin Fields, I would not want to go back to Pittsburgh.
I think Darnold is something that the Steelers have sort of considered and I think could check in on unless he's a sure thing to Seattle. After the Geno Smith trade went down, or the news of it broke on Friday, the consensus opinion around the league was Darnold to Seattle was the most likely outcome. Now, as of last night, I had some people that were kind of trying to say, hey, wait a minute, not so fast. Seattle's still looking at maybe Rodgers, maybe Fields. But it sounds like Darnold's the likely guy to go there. So if not, then I think he becomes interesting to Pittsburgh. But I think the fact that, you're not hearing Adam talk about that, I think the fact that it's kind of been in the ether the last couple of days that Seattle's the most likely destination for Darnold indicates that's the case.
I'll go back to Schefter in a second, but let me come over here to Teddy, because you were making the point, and you know everything about leadership and all that sort of thing. You have some concerns if they have those mercurial receivers about who the quarterback is.
The skill is obvious. The ability is obvious, like Dan's talking about. To have them both would be tremendous if you're a quarterback. But what quarterback can handle them? Because there's going to be a point in time over the course of the year, probably many times, meetings, things we don't even see, locker room, sideline we see. But in terms of keeping talent very exceptional talent with strong emotional feelings, okay? These two players, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, who's the best quarterback to do that? That's what Pittsburgh has to consider. And first of all, do the receivers look at their quarterback and know, that's my guy, I respect this guy because of what he's done in the past. So managing them, who's the best, it may be Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion.
And to me, this puts a ribbon on really what was a transformational move over the weekend. Bill Barnwell wrote it last night, which is not since Jerome Bettis has the Steelers gone outside the organization for such an impact of player in DK Metcalf. So to me, if you're getting DK Metcalf and you have Pickens guys, no team has two corners that can defend these guys, as Dan just alluded to. So to me, Aaron Rodgers paired with this DK Metcalf trade makes sense, Greeny. And then to me, ironically, they're sitting there at 21 in the draft, very similar to where they drafted Kenny Pickett. So is Aaron Rodgers the Band-Aid at 42 years old, which he'll be in December? And then do they draft his eventual replacement?
I think Dan also alluded to this, right? Like, Pickens is not a sure thing to be there. Like, he's extension eligible, and they're just going to extend DK Metcalf. Is that going to mean George Pickens wants money too, or wants to be somewhere else, and therefore could end up being?
I would love to see them both together. How that's managed with Mike Tomlin and whoever the quarterback is would be fascinating to watch.
Orlovsky, quickly go.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of the conversation, the Pickens piece. Is he staying? Here's the reality for Pittsburgh. They got to be urgent with this decision at quarterback. They cannot sit and wait. You are chasing guys in your division at that position that are absolutely remarkable. And if you tell that quarterback, hey, we've got DK Metcalf and we are absolutely keeping George Pickens, this is now a place that the top quarterbacks want to go. But Pittsburgh can't wait. There's only so many options. You can't sit back and slow play this, because the quarterback's going to go, well, I'll go to Seattle. And then what happens if Aaron Rodgers goes, you know what, I'm just going to go to the Giants. I want to stay local. And then all of a sudden Justin Fields goes, I don't want to go back there. You benched me after sitting 4-2. I'm going to go to the Jets. So now if you're the Steelers, you're not in a great situation unless you go up in the draft, to Mike T's point. I think the Steelers got to be aggressive and urgent with this quarterback decision.
They have been talking to Justin Fields and trying to get him re-signed. He's in Dubai right now, so there's a time difference.
Of course he is.
Right. And as Adam said, he wants to hear from other teams. Rodgers, I think, will wait. I think he knows the Giants are there for him if he wants to go there, but I think he'd rather go somewhere probably better, frankly. And I think if he thinks the Steelers are an option, he would wait until that's filled, I think, before saying yes to the Giants.
Brady, I'm just laughing at Dano's point. I mean, this is why GMs have, more weight and less hair, which is you are on the phone with DK Metcalf and you're not paying him $30 million a year to have a question mark at quarterback.
Right.
Trust me, you're having those conversations at the exact same time.
You also made the point this morning that the general manager about the GM in Seattle trading away Geno Smith. Make that point quickly.
Yeah, 1,000%. John Schneider's too smart and too talented. You're not taking a quality quarterback under contract and indiscriminately just trading him for hope. That Sam Darnold, I know we're a couple of hours away, but I would be floored if Sam Darnold today isn't a Seahawk. He was coached by Clint Kubiak in San Francisco. It all lines up. They're too smart not to have a quarterback.
To your point, he wouldn't have traded Geno without knowing
Without question.
what he's got. All right, Shefty, back to you. Obviously, you're hearing all this getting thrown around here.